You are now tuned in to Papi Chulo Radio. You are now tuned in to Papi Chulo Radio, your web portal for the best in pop culture news and interviews.
The spider spinning his web for the unwary fly. The blood is the life, Mr. Redfield.
The following is a Papi Chulo Radio original program. The views and opinions expressed in the commentaries and/or interviews in the following program are solely those of the individuals and are not views of Papi Chulo Radio, its parent, affiliate, or subsidiary companies.
Welcome, foolish mortals, to Horror Hotel, a PapiChuloRadio.com and iTunes exclusive Papi Chulo Radio, pop culture on demand. I am your host and hotel owner, Jeffrey Aruz. We're so glad you could check in. We've been dying to have you. Here on Horror Hotel, we are going to explore some of Hollywood's scariest, most frightening, and creepiest films. Please welcome my co-hosts, Concierge, Supervisor, Legionnaire.
Greetings.
Night Auditor, Mark Estes.
Welcome, children of the night.
And Banquet Manager, Ramon Marquise.
Welcome. Get ready.
Before we head on over to the ballroom, let's stop by the front desk where one of our bellhops has a few special announcements.
Good evening. We thank you for your patronage. Please step all the way in, and make room for everyone. There's no turning back now. I didn't mean to frighten you prematurely. The real chills come later. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/PCR Horror Hotel. Follow Papi Chulo Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, and YouTube, at Papi Chulo Radio. For more information on Horror Hotel, visit papichuloradio.com/Horror Hotel. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@papichuloradio.com. Help support Papi Chulo Radio financially by visiting gofundme.com/papichuloradio. Are you interested in joining the Papi Chulo Radio team as an on-air personality or blog contributor? Email talent@papichuloradio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Papi Chulo Radio programs by visiting papichuloradio.com/archives. You can also download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through iTunes. Just search for Papi Chulo Radio's Horror Hotel, and subscribe. Now, grab some popcorn and some snacks. You may step into the ballroom. It's time for your feature presentation.
Thank you. It's time to fire up the film projector in our ballroom so that we can discuss 1931's Dracula. Here's the official synopsis of the film. The ancient vampire Count Dracula arrives in England and begins to prey upon the virtuous young Mina. Alright, everybody. Who has seen, or who has never seen, 1931's Dracula? And we'll start off with Mark. Have you ever seen this movie before?
Yeah, I saw it a few times growing up. So this was probably the fifth, sixth time.
Awesome. Ramon, what about you?
I had definitely seen it actually in school. It had been a while, so certain aspects it was kind of like a refreshing course. But yeah, I've seen it before.
Oh, you had a fun school seeing Dracula during the day.
Yeah.
Legionnaire, what about you?
This is the first time that I actually watched the movie straight through.
Okay. And Legionnaire has seen it more than I had because I had never seen Dracula.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I was the virgin. Sacrifice. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's talk about the cast. Count Dracula is played by Bela Lugosi, who is iconic, especially in sort of like the Universal Studios horror films. What do we think of Bela Lugosi as Count Dracula?
He's everything.
Yeah, that's
He's
the quintessential.
I thought he gave Dracula some charm. I thought he gave Dracula, some variety with regards to his personality traits. The facial expressions was everything to me. Yeah, I thought it was an exceptional Dracula.
Yeah, I think it's like. Yeah, I like, especially when like they close up on his face. And those eyes are just so. Even watching it from the TV screen, you kind of get hypnotized in them. Like you never wanted to. Like if your eyes were not focused on the screen when his at first, but then he close up on the screen and you can see the focal point on his eyes. You was like, oh god, like yes, get all this, Nick, get it.
Oh gosh, that's too much. I thought he was really good too. Like he was charming, and there was almost like a sex appeal to him that was really interesting. Like this was definitely like the vampire that's like seductive and sexual and that kind of thing, especially for like 1931. Like I thought he was immensely charming. I agree with his eyes, like especially when they do that effect with the lighting where it's like the light is only on the eyes and like the rest is in shadows. Like I thought that was like really creepy and eerie and spooky. Yeah, he was awesome. What did we think of Mina Seward, Helen Chandler as Mina?
I liked her. I enjoyed her.
Yeah, she was cute. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She made a nice damsel in distress.
Yeah.
Yeah. Several times in distress.
For real.
Yes.
Yeah. All we needed, she was almost like the Penelope Pitstop. Help!
Right.
It's too much at times. Let's talk about Renfield. What do we think of Renfield? Because we saw Renfield prior to his, I don't know what you want to call it, his transformation into, like, Dracula's manservant, basically. And then we saw the change, but there wasn't really an explanation for the change. Like, it was almost like, okay, he's a normal human being, and then all of a sudden he's under his control. And there wasn't an explanation. They tried to do some exposition, like, you promised me this, and, you're the master, and, whatever you need, and all that kind of stuff, but the transformation happened, like, fast. I was surprised by that. I wish that we would have seen a little bit more of his sort of descent into servitude, basically.
I'll co-sign on that because it was just like they were swarming over him, and then next thing you know, they were on the boat, and he's like, yes, I'll do anything you say, master. I just want the blood of the little creatures. I don't want the human blood. I'm like, well, why would you not? Okay, I guess, why little creatures?
Right.
Yeah, I think at some point he was able to, when he attacked him, when he shooed the wise away and attacked him himself, he probably drained just enough blood to keep him in thrall, and it just like it acted like some kind of weird addiction, because he was definitely a lunatic by the time they got back to England.
I know, right? Ain't that the truth? Renfield was played by Dwight Fry, and let's talk about both of these characters together, because they pretty much almost shared all of their scenes together. We had Dr. Seward, Herbert Bunston, and Van Helsing, played by Edward Van Sloan. What do you think of both of those characters?
I thought they played off each other very, very well. I was very much entertained and really into what was going on. They definitely, what's what I'm looking for? I definitely gravitated towards them whenever they was in the scene.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I thought Van Helsing had a like an intellectual charm to him. Like he was captivating to see in his scenes. The actor Edward Van Sloan was really good as Van Helsing.
Yeah.
With Van Helsing, I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying I agree.
Oh, I was just gonna say that Van Helsing to me, it's funny because since he is like the first on-screen interpretation of Van Helsing, it just seemed like anything else after that was like highly campy, if I might say so. He would just play the role just like, yeah, there are vampires, let me show you. And he had an accent, but it's just because he dealt with that type of stuff, it seemed plausible. What I'm trying to say is, like, you see the later movies, it just seems like Van Helsing is just like chewing every scene in sight whenever he comes onto the screen. I don't care who's playing him or any of the iterations of him. Peter Vincent from Fright Night and other movies, it just seemed like they just like camp it up a little bit, and this guy was just playing it straight. Like, yeah, let me show y'all how this all works. And he just knew everything. And he was so smooth with it. His charismatic nature kind of was the balance of Dracula's. You know, both both had like this casual, charismatic swag about him. You know what I'm saying? It was just, you know, he knew what he was doing. He had to sit there and had to prove to anybody and do all these, like, raise his voice and just be like, listen to me, you have to understand that these. He was just like, let me just show y'all what time it is right here. You know, and they just bought it. You know what I'm saying? They was reluctant, but it was like, yo, we can't help but to believe him.
Yeah, right. Seward and Van Helsing had great chemistry together. Like, their scenes were electric, but Van Helsing and Dracula, like, their scenes were like lightning. They were really great together. The actors worked very well together. That scene where Dracula was going to try to mind control Van Helsing, and Van Helsing was like, nah, bitch, you know, you picked the wrong one. You picked the wrong one.
I love that. It's like, nah, bro, not me.
That was really, really good. Let's continue on with the characters. What did we think of John Harker, played by David Manners? Sort of like definitely the type that he was sort of like leading man in, like, you know, a drama. Unfortunately, he's not in a drama. He's in a horror movie, and the leading man is Count Dracula. But his type was very much sort of like Hollywood 1930s leading man.
Yeah, it was pretty. It was pretty typical to me. I mean, I thought it was all right.
Yeah, basic.
I enjoyed his I guess the journey of his relationship with Mina. But yeah, he was part of one of the most plain of the cast, but I thought he did okay as well.
Let's go to opposite plane. Lucy Weston, played by Frances Dade. She was only in it for a teeny tiny amount, but I felt she made a bit of a lasting impression, especially since this is a film that was released in 1931, and she was victimized by Dracula without even, like, touching him, basically.
Right.
Like, she was fiending for something.
I don't care what iteration of Lucy I come across, whether it's from any of the, offshoot movies or, hell, Dracula 2000. I just love her character for some reason. I just feel like she's like the bad girl to.
I'm about to say she's always a thought.
Yeah.
She is a thought, big time, bigly.
Pretty much.
And so she's just like, and Mina was sitting there just like, oh, you were so into him. She's like, yeah, I am. Why? And you know what I'm saying? Like, she's like, and what?
Proud about it. She's very proud.
Oh, Lucy. That's too funny. And before we get into like the actual plot, something that I want to discuss is the usage of what we now know of like vampire lore. Like, this is the first movie that really explored a lot of the tropes that, you know, still exist to this day. The idea of like the mirrors with vampires, the wolfbane, although sort of like wolfbane slowly like transformed into garlic at some point. What else did we see in this? The cross. Yes, the cross.
Yeah, the cross.
Sort of like the religious symbolism that, you know, vampires, you know, get repelled by. What did we think of, like, seeing these tropes? Well, it wasn't for us for the first time because, you know, obviously I would assume that before you saw this iteration of Dracula, you might have seen other ones. But what's it like, sort of like seeing that this was like the first iteration of a lot of these tropes?
You get to see that a lot of the movies that we've seen, there's a tradition that has been carried on through the years, and it's kind of universal in any kind of horror movie or movie that deals with vampires. You're gonna have the mirrors, you're gonna have the cross, the not being able to go out in sunlight. You have those elements, whether it's Underworld, whether it's any of these other movies that have been made since then. So for me, it's refreshing just to see how these certain attributes have kind of went throughout the generations over the years.
I'll be honest.
Yeah, I love seeing how this all, you know, getting a sense of where it all began. You know, like you said, especially with the standard weaknesses of the vampires that we see now. I mean, yes, it's definitely evolved over the years and changed, and definitely with special effects and things like that have made it a lot different. But it's really cool to see how it all started. So it you know, watching this movie just never seemed dated to me.
I was gonna say, to be honest with y'all, when he was mentioning Wolfsbane, I was shocked because I first heard of Wolfsbane. This shows you how I wasn't really paying attention to watching Dracula when I was, you know, watching it growing up. I first caught myself hearing of Wolfsbane by watching The Vampire Diaries. Yes, because they used it a lot in this show. And so, like Jeff said, Wolfsbane turned to garlic. So when they mentioned Wolfsbane, I was like, whoa, Wolfsbane been used in vampire lore? I said, but see, anything else modern I've read of vampire literature, they didn't say Wolfsbane. They always would say like garlic, or it would be some new spin on how to repel vampires or whatnot. If it wasn't garlic, it was something else. It wasn't Wolfsbane, it was something else. Was roses used to repel garlic, or repel vampires at one time or something? Or I can't remember. All I know is that was a shock to me, seeing Wolfsbane. But yeah, I was like, this was the movie that set up a lot of the tropes, which was severely lacking in Nosferatu.
Yeah, I agree with all the points that all of you have made. Really great points. And as someone who is seeing this film for the very first time, something that's kind of funny, and I wish that I had seen this first, but I had seen the Leslie Nielsen parody film Dracula, Dead and Loving It, and watching this now, even though I haven't seen Dracula, Dead and Loving It in ages, like seeing what they parodied was like really funny to watch. Like Renfield and like a lot of, like, they directly parodied stuff from this version of Dracula in that Leslie Nielsen movie, and I was like, wow, like now I need to go and see that so I can laugh at like what they parodied.
Mm-hmm.
So, moving on to the actual plot of the movie. It's funny that like the same week that we are dropping Nosferatu as our Horror Hotel film discussion, we are also dropping Dracula, and they're both interpretations of the Bram Stoker novel, although Nosferatu was an unauthorized one and this one is an authorized one. So a lot of the story was similar, but you could kind of see where they sort of cheaped out over on Nosferatu because they couldn't use some of these elements. And now to see it here in Dracula, and like to see like the real iteration of the novel, was very neat to see. So let's talk about Renfield's like journey to the castle. So, you know, he's looking for Dracula's castle. He's in Transylvania, and of course the villagers are like, you know, no, you don't want to go there, you shouldn't go there, but he's like, I have to. And so he ends up going to the castle. He's meeting a coach at midnight, and so he gets dropped off, and then this mysterious driver who doesn't speak, just points and stuff like that, you know, directs him into the horse and buggy, the carriage. And I asked this question during Nosferatu, and I'm going to ask it again here. At what point do you start noticing things aren't normal? And do you start freaking out? Is it when the townspeople tell you not to go? Is it when you're supposed to be meeting somebody at midnight? Is it when you look outside your coach and you see a bat flying and it seems like they're driving the coach?
Okay, so first thing, when, you know, I love this question. First of all, when he said when he was trying to go up to the castle, and these people looked at him was like he was just stupid. Are you crazy? You can't go there. That would have set up some red flags. But what would have really did it for me, not so much the midnight, because I done been in the streets that last night, but I digress. What would have did it for me was, I'm on this coach, and I got this mysterious driver, and this fool can't talk. Why you can't talk? What's wrong with you? Who hired you? Where you come from? You just pointing? No, that'd have been a problem for me. So for me, that's when I'm like, you know what? I think I need to take my ass back home because something's wrong with this driver.
That's too funny.
I think for me would have been when the coach that he was traveling on. I was shocked they actually went up that mountain. If they sat there and said, I'm not going up there. I'm not going up that mountain. I am not going up that mountain. I am not. Okay, I guess I'll take you. He got up there, and dude got off. Renfield got off, and then the dude threw his bag at him. Like, no, boom, bye. I'm out.
Right.
That should have been a red flag there. And even back to the townspeople, they had to do it in octaves. The guy was like, you know, well, the guy, he doesn't feel too good about going up the mountain because it can be a little dark and everything like that. But I have to go. Well, Sarah, you really don't need to go up there. This kind of like, just spend the night, go in the morning. But I have to go. Look, we are telling you, people have disappeared up there, and here's this woman that gave you a rosary. It's just like, what do you? I mean, like they gave you like they were slapping you in your face almost. Mm-hmm. But now, for me, I think I'd have did a tuck and roll when I saw there was a bad driving damn buggy. I'd be like, oh no, where'd he go? Where did he disappear out to? I didn't hear no thud. I didn't hear him fall off anything like that. Where did he go?
Right.
Okay, I like your answers. So my next question is, so you arrive at the castle. When do you notice something's off with Dracula? Is it when your luggage has disappeared? Is it when you see him phase through a spider web? or is it, or is it when he becomes obsessed with your paper cut?
Oh, baby, listen. That paper cut, baby,
That was a deep ass cut. Like in Nosferatu, it made sense because he was like slicing something with a knife. Like he practically hit bone with that paper. What kind of paper is that?
Listen, the look on Dracula's face when he saw the blood on that finger, you'd have thought he was gonna have an orgasm. It was like he had like he just got too excited when he saw that blood. Of course, we know vampires like blood, but how his entire demeanor changed, how he got so excited at the blood. No, that'd have been a problem. Like, why you look like? What are you so obsessed with my finger for? And then when he saw the dude pull out the cross and his whole demeanor immediately changed. Oh, that was everything. I love that part.
For me, I think it was. Sorry, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
You know what I'm saying? When he phased through the spider web, I was looking like, no. What's all that? What's going on here?
I thought we didn't even question it. I'm like, you're using your cane to like take the spider. Like that didn't grow in like 30 seconds.
Exactly. And in the 5 seconds between the time he passed up there and you got up there, there was no new spider web that spun. It's like, dude, no.
Right.
For me, the fact that I hate spiders, I want to put that out there right now. Any movie that we watch from here forward, I have arachnophobia. So, me coming to meet this count, and he's a count. He stays in the castle, which means I'm thinking his place is going to be real nice, spot in there, spotless and everything, service all over the place. I walk in, it's the crib, and there is this big-ass spider web sitting there. That's when I'd have been like, sir, I can't go no further. I'm sorry.
Where is your staff? What is going on here?
Because that house was dirty as hell.
Well, no. See, the funny thing is, like, I could have somewhat understood the decrepitness of it because it's an old castle, but my whole thing would have been like, why do you have a possum in your living room? Or an armadillo, whatever the hell that was.
Right, you got armadillos walking through here? No, bro.
But not only just that, like, I have, like, if it's not my own residence, I can't walk up in there. We ain't got no lights on. You ain't pay your light bill? Like, it was just, you got the spider webs, you got stuff knocked over, it look older. It is dark as hell. For me, I need a light switch. We need some lights up in here. This house is too big. I don't know what the hell is up in here besides you. No, for me, that would have did it.
That's too much. What do we think of the usage of animals in the movie? Because we saw a lot of bugs. We saw like real life bugs. There was a fake spider at one point, but that was kind of cute. There was the possum. There were armadillos, wolves.
Rat.
Yeah, rats. What do we think of the usage of animals, like real life animals in the movie?
Just filthy. Just filthy. Just nasty.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was appropriately gross.
Yeah, I agree. I also liked how decrepit the castle was, especially since nowadays, films try to sex up vampires, and they're usually in like very luxurious type of locations and that whole thing. So to see like a vampire seem very creepy, like I thought that was like very cool to see.
Yeah,
it was a nice throwback. So let's talk about the set of the castle. We'll talk about the sets in general, but since we're in the castle right now, let's talk about the castle. I thought the set was beautiful, like the with all of the cobwebs, like that staircase and corridor was really nice, and the room that Renfield had, I thought that was beautiful. It was like gothic and Victorian, and I mean, it was just amazing.
Yeah, that's cute. Sorry. Go ahead.
I think that's one of the things that makes, for me, and I'm getting myself, that makes Dracula a classic. I just feel like the setting and the scenery and every scene was just set up so well. And for this to be in the 1930s, I thought it kind of was a good representation of the time. Not too extra, not too fancy, but just very, very unique, very beautiful, very plain, very vintage. I appreciate it. I liked it.
Yeah, I thought the sets were very well used. It was all, I mean, all the scenes, all the settings and things for the scenes throughout the movie were really, really well set up for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, once they got past the spider web, I was cool.
Oh gosh,
That's
that's too funny.
It's cute, you know.
Oh Lord.
I like it. Okay, so my final question while we're inside the castle. So, you done seen all this shit. You're still cool and calm and collected. Dracula offers you some wine. Do you accept it? Especially after you ask him, oh, you're not going to have some yourself? And he's like, no, I don't drink wine.
Bitch, you can't serve me no water.
Because that was such a pregnant pause. It was like, really?
Something ain't right. I don't even want your water. You know I'm good. I want your wine. I want nothing. What you mean? You want to serve me something? You don't drink it out. Why you got this shit in your house and you don't drink it? No, I don't want none of that. I'm not thirsty.
I wouldn't even ate anything out of that. I'm like, you have armadillos and possums and all this stuff walking around, which means there might be roaches. No, I'm good.
That's too funny.
Oh, I love it. Never mind the possums and the rats and things. That might be roaches.
I know, right?
No, we don't do them.
That's too funny. So, moving along with the plot. So, Dracula's plan is to leave Transylvania and to set up residence in London. He actually has, it's a bigger plot, and we'll discuss sort of like the intricacies of the plot a little bit later. But, so they're on a ship, and everyone is murdered by Dracula, and Renfield gets captured by the police. Can I just say, when they open the like, what do you call that in the ship?
The hold?
Yes, when they open it and like he looks like batshit crazy, like he's about to murder everybody. Like that was creepy as fuck.
Hell yeah.
Oh, I love that. Was a great scene. Because he clearly had descended into madness, po thing.
He really did. At that moment, though, I was like, I didn't know what was gonna happen. So I was like, why are they gonna let him get captured? Like, why don't they make him seem like the victim? But then, obviously, I mean, you know, this is part of the plot. You know, he needed to be where they sent him, and they sent him to basically the insane asylum, and that's where we meet Dr. Seward. And we learn that Dracula had purchased a home that's like basically on the same property as Dr. Seward's sanitarium in London. So yeah, and there's I love that moment in the opera where Dracula is basically setting his plan into motion. I thought, well, to be quite honest, like that entire scene of like him on his way to the opera, where that poor little flower girl.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
Same.
She, you know, she couldn't stop looking into his eyes.
Mm-mm. She was trapped, po thing.
Yeah, poor flower girl. So rest in peace. And that entire plot in the opera was like brilliant. Like he used his mind control to, you know, to basically, you know, tell I don't know what you would call her, like a page or something, I guess.
Oh, the usher?
The usherette or whatever. To like tell the usher to go and tell Dr. Seward to step away so that he could introduce himself, and like I thought that was really brilliant and very smooth. And then that's where Lucy gets moist.
Right, exactly.
On site.
Yeah, pretty much. I was surprised at how fast Lucy was out of the picture. Although, I mean, if you think about it, the movie is only like an hour and 14 minutes. So, I mean, you have to move the plot, pretty quickly. But, like, Lucy was out, like, she had 2 scenes and she was done.
Right. Yeah. Poor thing. Her panties dropped, she got killed, and that was it.
Yeah. What do we think of the bats in the movie? Because the bats were obviously not real. But I thought that, as kind of hokey as they looked, like, I thought it was kind of neat, to be quite honest. I didn't think they were that bad. And I know that we're all used to, like, CGI stuff. And sometimes the CGI can be so distracting. Like, I thought the use of, like, the practical effect of basically a bat on wires, and them, tugging the wire up and down. I thought that was a little bit more, for lack of a better word, realistic.
Yeah, I liked it because it really didn't seem fake. It really seemed, you couldn't tell me that I wasn't watching a real bat flying around and do what it do. Like, I love the way they did that. I love usage that and how they implemented that.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was hokey, but I didn't mind. I didn't mind it.
Yeah, I didn't either. Going back to what we said for Nosferatu, take yourself out the modern world and put it back then. That was probably hot back then. They were like, oh my God, it's a bat. And as also, just like we stated earlier in the show, it kind of set up that trope, vampires and bats and stuff like that, and they go hand in hand. And I was like, the fact that he was the only vampire in town, which means it was not just a lot of them, it was just him. So you knew it was a cue for him and whatnot. So,
and like it wasn't overdone.
Exactly.
They didn't do it too much, just to know.
Yeah, I agree with all of you. And the plot moved very fast because, at least for me, I was surprised at how fast, like, he was outed as a vampire.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was...
It did kind of...
Yeah, it just came out of nowhere.
It moved pretty fast.
Yeah, a lot of movies nowadays sort of drag stuff like that out. So I thought that was kind of neat, that all of a sudden we have a face-off between Van Helsing and Dracula, and we still had, like, 15 to 20 minutes left of the movie.
Right.
Yeah. Alright, so Mina, at one point, gets bitten by Dracula. And there's this whole discussion of, like, can we save her? And, well, if she dies in the day, yes, but if she passes at night, no. And, we need to, like, barricade her room and, put wolfsbane all over the place and, get the cross ready and all this kind of stuff. And then we see her, like, dressed up, like, ready to go, and she seems all fine and dandy. Now, obviously, some of you are seeing this movie again, but sort of, like, get into the mindset of, like, the first time that you watched it. Were you buying it? Like, did you think she was fine, or did you have the feeling that, something was off with Mina?
At first, I thought she was normal, but I was like, well, wait a minute. How the hell did she become normal so fast? Like, wait a minute, something ain't right. But part of me, as the dialogue continued between her and John, I'm like, oh, wow, this shit is back to normal. This is so weird. But then I think it was the moment when I think she stared off for a little bit or something she did. That's when I'm like, oh no, this bitch faking. She's still under his little spell. But that entire scene, that entire exchange, that was probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
I knew she wasn't okay because when we first meet up with Mina and Lucy, she was making fun of Dracula. You know, like his little accent and stuff like that. But then when she kept trying to defend him or just defend like what Van Helsing's saying doesn't make any sense and all this and whatnot, I'm like, yeah, she's still enthralled, you know, whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I wasn't. I knew something wasn't right. I mean, just from a historical perspective of all the movies I'd seen before, but even having seen this for the first time, I definitely had a sense that, nah, she gone.
Yeah, I think it was very suspicious when she specifically mentioned, I took off, all that wolf's bane, and that stuff doesn't work, and all that kind of stuff. Like, I was like, oh, so something is very suspicious here. So the film culminates with the climax at Dracula's new home. He has taken Mina with him, I'm assuming to make her one of his brides, and Renfield ends up dying, and Dracula ends up dying as well. Van Helsing kills him, and then that, I guess, breaks the spell that Mina had. It wasn't really explained, because it wasn't really explained if she was also going to be a vampire, because at one point it seemed like she was looking at John Harker's neck, but they never really explored that anymore. But then all of a sudden, once Dracula died, it seemed as if she was okay, and so the movie ends in a very weird way, and I don't know if it was weird for either of you, but, like, Van Helsing is basically like, oh, you two need to leave, blah, 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 and they're like, well, aren't you going to come with us? And he's like, no, I've got stuff to do. And then we see them, like, leaving Dracula's home. And then that's it.
It was wrapped up way better than Nosferatu was. I probably shouldn't be comparing these two, but I mean...
Well, no, you should, yeah.
Okay, but it seemed like it was wrapped up way better. They had like a little... What's the studio had the code by the end, Jeff?
No, this one was before the code. Yeah, that's why I think Renfield could die. Yeah. Renfield died because it was pre-code. Once the Hays Code was in effect, there was this... The Hays Code is interesting. If you all want an interesting read, sort of like about just like the early rating system, the Hays Code was very weird. It was like only villains could die, and the death had to sort of be justified. You can't do suicides. Like, there were a lot of like weird sort of like stipulations with the Hays morality code. It's it's very weird. But this is a pre-code film.
Yeah, because I was saying, like, okay, there was two loose threads. One of you already mentioned, and the other one was Lucy was still walking around biting kids. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
right.
Never happened to her.
Exactly.
You know, so
yeah.
And there were also the other brides.
Yeah.
Right. Right. What happened to the brides, and I was like, did the flower girl not turn, or I guess that just brought so many things as far as modern vampire stories and things like that. It was like, okay, well, why didn't the flower girl turn, or what happened with her? Or, she just died, and so yeah, it was like a lot of weird, like little points there.
And why were children in the middle of the woods late at night just waiting to get bit?
Well, yeah, that was bad.
Yeah.
That was weird. That whole interlude was odd. And then they're reading the news report. Children are getting bitten in the woods. I'm like, well, that's what
Wild ass
happens.
out there. Right.
Yeah. I thought it was neat that they actually killed Dracula. Like, that was unexpected for me as someone who had never seen the film. I guess you kind of expect that Dracula's going to die, but because this is such an iconic film, and there were other Dracula films, right? That are
Yeah.
that are part of the Universal sort of series. Or am I mistaken? Or is that just Frankenstein that had, Frankenstein?
No, they had another Dracula movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so it was surprising that they killed him off.
Well, Dracula's daughter, then I think son of Dracula, and then something else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Dracula appears in a number of those Universal films.
Yeah, because Van Helsing had a movie too.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting, and once again another vampire trope, the stake to the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And even though we didn't get to see it, we heard it.
Yes.
That was intense.
Yeah, I always found it interesting that when Dracula would appear in those subsequent movies, they never really explain, how he's back. You just kind of go with it.
Yeah, why not? So, I know that I already mentioned it, but did anybody else think it was weird that Van Helsing was like, I'm going to stick around. I've got stuff to do. You're not going to leave with us?
That was a little odd.
Very
odd.
I still have things to do down here. Like, that was weird. It's very weird. So, any other little bits of the story that I might have missed that you all want to discuss?
The fact that Renfield kept getting out, I was like, they need to fire whoever's supposed to be over him. I'm like, every time you pop up, like, again? Like, no, your job is on the line, sir. For real.
Right. Security? Where is your security?
That's too funny. All right, let's check in on some awards that 1931's Dracula has been awarded. It doesn't have any official awards of the time, but it has been awarded since then in various different ways. First up, it was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant. And it consistently ranks high on the AFI's sort of list. It was number 85 on AFI's 100 Years, 100 Thrills. Count Dracula was the number 33 villain in AFI's 100 Years, 100 Heroes and Villains. And in AFI's 100 Years, 100 Movie Quotes, the quote from Count Dracula, "Listen to them, children of the night. What music they make," was ranked as number 83. And of course, Bela Lugosi's role of Dracula has become a cultural icon. So, before we give out our awards, let's actually check in on the Rotten Tomatoes Fresh Meter. And this film is certified 91% fresh.
Nice.
Yeah. So
let's.
I know, right? So, you thought it would be higher? Well, yeah, you know what? I could agree. It should be maybe a little bit higher. But 91, I think, is still pretty decent. So now it's time to give out some of our own awards. And let's start off with The Kill of the Night.
For me, it'll be Lucy.
Oh, okay. I'm going to give it to the Flower Girl, because we saw a little bit more.
The Flower Girl, yeah. I'll say the Flower Girl, too.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Lucy.
Who was the Scream Queen? Renfield.
Ooh.
Renfield.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Great answer.
That's too funny.
Absolutely.
What was the creepiest moment? And I'm going to say Dracula looking into your eyes.
Yeah, all those scenes where they did the whole shot, you know, you just see his eyes and everything else is dark. I've always loved those scenes. Those shots are always great to me.
Yeah. What was the shadiest moment?
Shadiest moment.
When he tried to put whatchamacallit with Van Helsing under his little trance, and Van Helsing was basically like, "No man, you won't get me."
Was that also the read of the night? Was that the read of the night too?
Had to be.
Yes, I have to say yes.
That's too funny.
Yeah, he's like, no ma'am, no ma'am,
exactly. Well, there you go. I haven't heard that phrase in so long. I guess no ma'am, Pam.
I'm gonna award the That's So Retro moment to the ship, because I feel like anytime we see an old movie, the ship, like that looked like a little tugboat in someone's filled up bathtub, splish splashing around.
I would have to agree. That always cracks me up.
It's funny. But, you know, I mean, what can you do? What about the best usage of a cheesy special effect?
The bat.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the bat. Yeah.
I will co-sign that, but I want to award it to the little spider that we saw for like 10 seconds in the castle.
Yeah, for 10 seconds. Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you that. Now the spider, because it was fake, I was like, okay, I can rock with that. However, let's keep it fake.
Yes.
I know that's right.
Oh. Who was the diva?
Dracula.
Okay, yes. Yeah. That is the right answer. And who was the ingenue?
I can. Go ahead, Mark.
Go ahead, listener. Go ahead.
I'm gonna say I think I'm gonna rock with Mina.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
Too, but I can see Lucy. It's just something about her character. I don't care who plays this character. When they come in, and they just be like, "I'm here for these 3 or 4 scenes, and I'm out." You know.
Well, I was gonna give the feminist icon to Lucy.
Oh, okay. Cool. Okay.
Yeah, why not? Alright, so now it's time to rank the film in special horror hotel categories. We have Screamer, which is for scare-filled films. We have the Gutbuster for films that are extremely gross. We have Eye Popper for films that are visually impressive. We have The Gravedigger for films that lack scares. And we have The Mind Blower for overall best in show. So what category or categories would you use to classify 1931's Dracula? We will start off with Mark.
I hate saying this. I'm gonna give it an eye popper, but a grave digger. I hate doing that because as much as I've seen the movie, it chilled me, but it didn't sit there and make me want to like scream out loud when something happened. You know, it's still watchable, it's rewatchable, but it's just like you know what's going to go down. You're not going to be like having nightmares and crap. So Eye Popper and Gravedigger because I wasn't really that scared.
What about you, Ramona?
I'm gonna give it Eye Popper. I just feel like Dracula is one of those classics. From the icon who plays Dracula to some of my other favorite parts, some of the traditional aspects like the cross and things like that. I just love so many elements about it. So yeah, I'm gonna say Eye Popper.
All right. I'm going to throw in a curveball, and I'm going to agree with Eye Popper. I think it's just a visually gorgeous film. It's like a feast for the eyes. I can co-sign with Gravedigger just because, I mean, if we're going to be honest, I didn't find it scary either. I can once again put on the mindset of someone from 1931 and seeing this in a theater for the first time. It could be scary, but unfortunately, I live in 2017, and sort of like the horror elements have increased, and the scare factor has increased so much that I can't call this film scary. But I'm also going to throw in Mind Blower, because I feel like this is one of those films that's just overall best in show. I mean, it's just so iconic and legendary, and it's created such an incredible legacy, especially if you just consider the Universal Studios monster universe, that I just have to give it a Mind Blower as well. What about you, Legionnaire?
Yeah, I give it a straight eye popper. I mean, I thought even all these years later, the movie still looks really, really good. Even though it didn't provide me with scares, I always take these things serious enough where I will, turn on all the lights and watch these movies in the dark so that I could at least get as much of an effect from it as I can. And having those things pop up, where they give you the eyes, it's still, I mean, all these years later, it still gives you chills.
I like it. Alright, let's rate the film. And since we are in the horror hotel, we are rating the film on a hotel room key scale from 1 to 10. The point system is allowed, and we're going to start off with Ramon.
I think this movie is, as I said a few times before, I think it's a classic. I think it set the precedence for a lot of other movies when you think of Dracula. Without Dracula, I don't think there would be the Underworld movies. I don't think it would have been Vampire in Brooklyn, and just some other movies that I think of. Visually, I thought it was very well done, very beautifully done. The costumes, just everything about it, usage of the props, the setting. So for me, I'm going to give it 7 room keys.
Legionnaire, what about you? How many room keys, hotel room keys, will you use to rate this film?
For me, I'm going to give it 8 room keys. This was definitely, a movie I'm glad I got to sit down and watch all the way through. I mean, I liked it when I've seen it before and appreciated it as a classic, but I think being able to watch it all the way through gave me a full appreciation of it. And I will definitely something that I would watch again.
Mark, what about you? How many hotel room keys will you give 1931's Dracula?
9 hotel room keys. I mean, this Dracula, I love this movie. It just, like everybody else said, it set the precedent. You know what I'm saying? It is the Bible of most vampire movies today, vampire literature, vampire TV shows and whatnot. It just sets the tone for what we have today. And Bela Lugosi is just iconic. There's no other. And he can't nobody match him. They try, but they can't. It's like you cannot stop trying. So yeah, I give it a 9. 9 Hotel Kings.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm going to give this film 10 hotel room keys. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's iconic. It's legendary. It set the standard for vampire lore. As all of you sort of mentioned, vampires today, sort of like, Dracula. All of these films and television shows out there that feature vampires are all in debt to 1931's Dracula, more so than Nosferatu, because I feel like this film got it right. And it's legendary, and it's visually stunning. I thought the story was really good. I mean, sure, there were a couple of little plot points that were kind of like, huh? But for a movie made in 1931, I think it's pretty damn excellent. So 10 hotel room keys for me. So on that note, please drag your bodies away from the ballroom and prepare to check out. Join us next time for a brand new installment of Horror Hotel. Once again, here's one of our bellhops with a few special announcements.
Good evening. We thank you for your patronage. Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/PCR Horror Hotel. Follow Panpichulo Radio on social media. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Tumblr, Twitter, and YouTube, at Panpichulo Radio. For more information on Horror Hotel, visit panpichuloradio.com/Horror Hotel. Do you have any questions, suggestions, comments, or concerns? Email us via contact@panpichuloradio.com. Help support Panpichulo Radio financially by visiting gofundme.com/panpichuloradio. Are you interested in joining the Panpichulo Radio team as an on-air personality or blog contributor? Email talent@panpichuloradio.com. Binge listen to your favorite Panpichulo Radio programs by visiting panpichuloradio.com/archives. You can also download tonight's broadcast and the rest of the series through iTunes. Just search for Panpichulo Radio's Horror Hotel, and subscribe. We hope you've brought your death certificate. Make final arrangements now.
Thank you. My fellow Horror Hotel team, please wish our hotel guests and the listeners a good night.
Good night, listeners.
Be safe with the bed bug bites.
Until next time, take care.
We do not have bed bugs at the Horror Hotel. We have other things you should worry about. Thanks for tuning in. You may have checked into the Horror Hotel, but who says you're allowed to check out? Good night.